success, or at least what I was told is, well, you want to get on a ladder and you want to climb to the top of the mountain. And so I bought into that, and I thought what they had told me, go to work, get a good college education, get a nice job, and bust my butt, that I could climb to the top of this mountain. What I didn't realize is that the ladder they actually sold me only had about 40 rungs for 40 years, and you only got to go about 1 rung per year. So here's this ladder. If you want to get here and the ladder only goes here, you got a problem. And that's where I was at. Now, I couldn't have described it in those terms back then, but I knew something was wrong. I'm like, man, I'm working really hard, and I'm not even close to where I want to go. And when I received that 19% raise, the next year, Lori was pregnant. I went back to him and said, I want to be unclassified because I'd like to get a company car all the time. And they looked at me and said, or 8th level. They said, 8th level? You're 7th level now. You're the youngest 7th level in this building's history. We're not even going to talk about 8th level for another 5 years. And then he said, we've got 135 too many 8th levels already. And so then it hit me. I'm like, so you mean that no matter how hard I work, no matter what I do, I'm stuck at this rung? And I started, and if this is true of me, it might have been true, it might be true of the path you're on. What I'm telling you is most people were sold a path. They were told if you climb this ladder, you can climb to the top, but you really can't climb to the top. And one of the things that I appreciate so much about people, like a Tim Marks, like a Curtis Spoler, like a Felmar, like a Chris Mattis, like a Dan Hawkins back here, is that at some point they got honest that the ladder was not going to take them where they wanted to go. Now I'll tell you this, that this compensated community ladder, here's what I know, that this ladder not only will take you to the top of the mountain, what I'm telling you is I'm climbing up this ladder, and this is not even the top. This is just the cloud cover. I can't see above it. But I'm starting to poke my head out, and as I look up, I'm saying, there's 1,000 more rungs after that. This thing goes for a long ways. Now, here's the point. Here's the point. Why will you spend the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life mastering a ladder that won't take you where you want to go? But Orrin, I'm really good at this ladder. I was really good at that ladder too. What's the point of being 20-some rungs up, stuck 20-some up? One of the most courageous things you'll do in life is when you're honest with yourself and admit that your ladder will not take you where you want to go, and climb down this ladder and come over to the ladder that will. That's a courageous act. Because what it says is, I'm no longer going to follow the crowd. But Orrin, there's so many people to go that ladder. Everybody does that 40-rung ladder. I mean, think about it. When you're in high school, all the teachers are telling you to do that. And then when you go to college, all of them telling you you're doing a great job. And then you get into the job and you start climbing, you start doing things like getting pads or whatever. And everybody's patting on your back. And it's so acceptable to do what everyone else is doing. Everybody was telling me how great I was doing. And as soon as I stepped down off that ladder, I quit my MBA program from the #2 school at the time. Now everybody's, what's wrong with Orrin? Boy, he was doing so good. Now he's such a fool. He's no longer climbing this ladder. He thinks he's going to get rich in that little thing. I remember getting sat down by one of the unclassifieds, and he says, you're throwing away a great career for that thing. That will never even last. Why don't you put your time into this? This is solid. I drive by where we had that conversation. It's miles of just cement now. Even the building's knocked down. One of the companies lasted, one of them didn't. Right? It's going to take courage, guys, to stop following the crowd. It's going to take courage to admit that just because everybody says something doesn't mean it's true. Listen, if there was a Flat Earth Society meeting next door to us, and there was 5,000 people at the Flat Earth Society, and you just happened to be walking out, and you said, hey, what are you here? How are you doing? Pretty good. And then someone said, oh, by the way, you know the earth is flat? No, it's not flat. That's crazy. You walk a little bit farther. Man, that guy just told me the earth is flat. Yeah, it is flat. It is? No. How many times does somebody have to say something stupid before it becomes true? Now, this is an important point, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. But I can't tell you how many people told me I was stupid for climbing off this and coming over here. But if you were just looking at this and you said, no, I can see one ladder clearly stops 40 rungs up the mountain, and I am absolutely intent upon climbing to the top of the mountain. If one person tells me, well, you should get back on that ladder over here, that's the one I'm going to climb, and I look and say, no, that'd be stupid, because I'm not going to call them stupid, but to myself, I'm just like, I'm not listening to that opinion because it's wrong. Now, most of us can handle that. But what we seem to forget is that truth and error is not a democracy. That it's not like, well, if one person says something that's false, it's wrong. But if 20 people say it, somehow it mysteriously becomes true. Because by my way of thinking, whether it's one person says something stupid, or 1,000 people say something stupid, or 10 million say something stupid, it's still stupid. And until you get that, now please don't go running around calling people stupid. That was not my point. My point is to give you a little bit of understanding that when you decide you're going to the mountaintop, it only makes reasonable sense to find a ladder that actually goes where you want to be. Find that ladder and don't let anybody knock you from that. People say, how did you last in those early days? In the whole time, when our first compensated community business, we never had one person in our upline ever move on a pin. What you saw Felmar do, no one ever did. Not one. Say, well, then how come you stayed on? Because it still went to the top. Even if nobody else was climbing, it still went where I wanted to go. Yeah, but Orrin, you were absolutely terrible at it. Of course, thank you very much for pointing that out. I was absolutely terrible. You were a really good engineer and you were really terrible at this ladder. Why did you continue? Because I'd rather be the worst person on the right ladder than the best person on the wrong ladder. Do you get that? Do you get that? Then start climbing the ladder. Climb, climb. Listen. I'm sorry, I got way too excited too early, but you guys just fire me up. Let me explain something. In life, there's three types of people. There's quitters, there's campers, and there's climbers. If you decide you're going to be a quitter in life, it doesn't matter which ladder you're on, you're quitting anyway. If you decide you're going to be a camper, it doesn't matter. You can camp just as good in corporate America as you can here, or in a conventional business as you can here. Camp away, it's your life. But if you're a climber, you got a serious problem. Because if you're on the wrong ladder and you're a climber, you are limited. Now, I know you don't like limits any more than I like limits. I'm not even really a fast driver necessarily. But if you get me behind someone going the speed limit, it drives me crazy. 10 minutes of being behind someone going the speed, I'm like, what's wrong with him? And I look down, he's technically going the speed limit. I still don't like it. Don't laugh at me, you don't like it any more than I do. Now here's my point. Why does it frustrate us so bad to be 10 minutes behind someone going the speed limit, yet we're willing to allow the wrong ladder to limit us our whole life? So it took just a little bit of reasoning, but I didn't have that graphic, but I had that reasoning. I said, I know I'm terrible at this ladder, but it does take me where I want to go. And I can remember when I started wrestling being a bad wrestler, but knowing I wasn't going to stay a bad wrestler. You know why? Because I'm willing to endure pain. If you're willing to endure some pain of failing, of people laughing at you, of people telling you that you're foolish because 1,000 people are climbing this ladder and only you are over there, so clearly you're wrong. Democracy's not truth. Just because 1,000 people say it does not make it true. When you decide, just as I had to decide, that I was on the right ladder, regardless of if my family thought I was crazy, which they did, regardless of all my peers as engineers, they laughed at me. Ha ha, you climbed up to 7th level first. Now we're catching you and passing you. Pass away. Because I'm not even on that ladder anymore. Mentally, I was over here. Yep, I would do my job and I would do it well, but I'm no longer interested in climbing the wrong ladder. I'm going to climb the ladder that I was called to climb because I decided I wanted a mountaintop life. And if you're a climber in the room, this is important, guys. If you're a climber in the room and your ladder is leaning on the wrong side of the mountain or it's only 40 rungs up, then you have a serious issue. And that's why I'm proud of you for being here this weekend. Because this whole weekend, all the talks you've heard up to now is describing to you step by step how to get on the right ladder, to recognize you're on the right ladder, and be willing to be bad long enough to figure out how to be good.